Historic Speedwell is an 8.2-acre National and State Register historic site that contains the estate of Stephen Vail, proprietor of the Speedwell Iron Works. It is located approximately 1 mile north of the Green in Morristown, New Jersey. When visiting historic Speedwell today, you could see Stephen Vail's home and the factory where his son Alfred and Samuel F.B. Morse demonstrated the perfected electromagnetic telegraph in 1838. Also at historic Speedwell are 3 other buildings that remain from Stephen Vail's time. This includes the 1849 carriage house, the Homestead carriage house, and the granary. The site also includes 3 historic houses moved from the center of Morristown to save them from demolition in the 1960s. This includes the Moses Esty House, the Ford Cottage, and the Lamadou House, which is now used as the visitor center. The first known property owner was Thomas Kinney, a prominent Morris County citizen. At the time of his death in 1793, Kinney's estate included the 41-acre lot located on the north side of the Whippany River that contained the family farm and shares of the slitting mill that had been established across the street in the partnership with Jacob Arnold. The family homestead passed down through several Kinney family members before being sold to Isaac Canfield in 1821. Isaac Canfield, Stephen Vail's former partner in the Speedwell Iron Works and a resident of nearby Hanover Township, only owned the property for a little more than 1 year. A few months before he died in 1822, Canfield sold the same lots to his son, Dayton. Dayton started the construction of a water-powered factory on the property in 1829. His father-in-law, Stephen Vail, eventually completed the project later that same year. Born in 1780 to Davis Vail and Hannah Moore, Stephen Vail was a successful businessman, skilled mechanic, inventor, farmer, benefactor to churches, Jacksonian Democrat, promoter of early railroads, landowner, and slave owner. Stephen also served as Justice of the Peace and a lay judge in the Court of Common Pleas. In 1830, he purchased the land adjacent to the Speedwell Iron Works from his son-in-law, Dayton. Like most 19th century proprietors, Stephen and his family would live beside his business. Buildings on the property included a house and factory, with Stephen adding a granary, a large barn, several outbuildings, and a carriage house. There were extensive gardens, orchards, and farmland. Never one to miss an opportunity, Stephen saw that he could harness the power of the nearby stream to create a separate business weaving cotton. He revamped an older, water-powered system and rebuilt an old mill into what was then a modern factory. To keep his new water wheel turning during the winter, he added a wheelhouse to prevent freezing. Water was supplied by a pond located to the north of the current property line. A raceway extended from the pond and ended just behind the Homestead carriage house. The raceway was connected to the wheelhouse by an overhead flume. However, in the 1840s, the unsightly flume was replaced with an underground iron pipe. Stephen worked hard to bring his plan to establish a water-powered cotton factory to fruition. Despite several setbacks, he succeeded in getting the factory in working order, but not in renting it, leading to his least successful business venture. Regardless, Stephen never stopped trying to find a use for the building. Stephen added a table saw, grist mill, bone grinder, to name a few pieces of machinery, to the building that utilized the power from the water wheel to run. Stephen also installed an overhead belt-driven system throughout 2 floors of the factory that harnessed the water power. Equipment powered by the water wheel was not only for machines inside. A shaft from the rear pinion projected outdoors and was used to power portable equipment. Throughout the 1840s and 50s, Stephen Vail made extensive repairs and improvements to the factory and its hydropower system, including replacing the original water wheel around 1853. By this time, George, Stephen's younger son, had taken over the ironworks, giving it his own name in 1845. The new water wheel, a hybrid of wood and iron casted at the Speedwell Ironworks, bear the George Vail and Company trademark still seen on the outer rim of the wheel. The new water wheel was used routinely from 1853 until 1873, when the Speedwell Ironworks closed in Morristown. After Stephen Vail's death in 1864, his heirs and successors, the Lidgerwoods, preserved the building because of its historical associations, although it remains a little used outbuilding at the foot of their garden. In the early 1970s, Speedwell Village, Inc. restored the Waterwheel and wheelhouse. Seen here are two images from the 1972 restoration project. Like the 1972 restoration, the current scope of work calls for the waterwheel to be removed from the building. The north elevation of the wheelhouse will have to be dismantled and the wheel rolled out.